Somewhere right now, Jesus is looking at your life. Not your Instagram, not your Sunday face. Your real life. The one behind closed doors. And he's bleeding again. Not on a cross made of wood this time. On a cross made of your excuses. Your coldness. Your silence toward him. You think Calvary happened once, 2,000 years ago, and it's over. Finished. A history lesson. But every time you shrug off his grace like it's nothing, every time you live like he doesn't exist, every time you clench your fist instead of opening your hand, you drive another nail. This isn't a guilt trip. This is a rescue mission. Because there are 4 sins, 4 specific wounds, that cut deeper into the heart of Christ than almost anything else. And chances are, you're carrying at least one of them right now. By the end of this video, you won't be able to unsee it. Let's go. Sin 1. Ingratitude and coldness. Picture a man who gives away everything he has to save a stranger's life. His money, his health, his last breath. Now picture that stranger walking past him every single day and never once saying thank you. That's you. That's me. That's all of us, more often than we want to admit. Jesus didn't send a gift. He didn't send a check. He sent himself. He walked into your mess, took the whip meant for your sin, wore the crown meant for your rebellion, and died the death meant for your name. And what does he get back? Silence. Boredom. A grace so familiar it's become background noise. You read the crucifixion story and feel nothing. You sing Amazing Grace on autopilot. You treat the blood of the Son of God like a subscription you forgot to cancel. Technically still active, but you're not using it. That's not neutral. That's ingratitude. And ingratitude toward infinite love is not a small thing. It's cold. Think about it this way. If someone saved your child from a burning building, you'd never stop thanking them. You'd tell the story for the rest of your life. Jesus saved your soul from eternal fire. And you can't even give him 5 minutes of real gratitude today. Your heart has gone cold to the very thing that should set it on fire. He's not asking for your performance. He's asking for your heart to wake up, to actually feel the weight of what he did, to stop treating the cross like old news and start treating it like the most staggering act of love in human history, because it is. Coldness doesn't happen overnight. It creeps in through routine, through comfort, through a faith that's been reduced to a habit instead of a relationship. And every day you stay cold, his heart absorbs another quiet wound. Sin 2. Indifference. There's something worse than hating God. It's ignoring him. Hatred at least admits he's real. Indifference pretends he doesn't matter at all. You don't have to burn a Bible to wound Jesus. You just have to live like he's optional. Like his commandments or suggestions. Like his love is a nice idea for people who need that sort of thing. Be honest with yourself right now. How many decisions did you make this week with God in the room? How many were made like he wasn't even watching? Indifference is sneaky because it doesn't look like rebellion. It looks like busyness. It looks like a full calendar with no room for prayer. It looks like a phone that gets checked 40 times a day and a Bible that gets checked once a week, if that. You're not an atheist. You'd never say you don't believe in God. But your schedule says it. Your priorities say it. Your silence toward him says it louder than any confession of unbelief ever could. Jesus stood in front of a city and wept over it. Not because they hated him, but because they didn't care enough to recognize him when he was right in front of them. He's still weeping over hearts like that. Hearts that are close enough to touch him and still manage to look right past him. Indifference is a slow death. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't feel like sin. It feels like nothing. And that's exactly the danger. A heart that feels nothing toward God is a heart that's already halfway gone. You don't drift into deep intimacy with Christ, but you absolutely drift into indifference. It happens by doing nothing at all. So ask yourself, does God actually matter in the details of your life? Or has he been quietly demoted to a Sunday morning idea, while the rest of your week runs on autopilot without him? That gap between your Sunday and your Monday, that's where indifference lives. And it wounds him more than open defiance ever could. Sin 3. Hardness of heart. There is a specific kind of pain that comes from being rejected by someone you're trying to help. Now multiply that by infinity, and you get a small glimpse of what it costs Jesus every time you refuse to forgive, refuse to repent, refuse to let go of the sin you keep running back to. Hardness of heart isn't loud. It's not dramatic. It's quiet stubbornness. It's the refusal to bend. You know that person you haven't forgiven. You know exactly who they are. Their name flashes in your mind right now. And every time it does, Something in you locks the door a little tighter. You tell yourself it's justified. They hurt you. They don't deserve it. Maybe that's even true. But Jesus didn't forgive you because you deserved it. He forgave you while you were still spitting in his direction. And he's asking you to extend the same mercy you were given, not because the other person earned it, but because you didn't either. Hardness of heart also shows up in that sin you keep confessing and keep repeating. The same struggle, the same fall, the same, "I'm sorry," followed by the same choice, week after week, year after year. That's not weakness alone. At some point, that's a hardened will. A heart that says, "I know this wounds you, and I'm choosing it anyway." Pharaoh's heart hardened plague after plague. He saw the miracles. He felt the consequences. And still, he clenched his fist tighter each time. Don't let your heart follow that same pattern. Every time you refuse to forgive, every time you refuse to repent, you're not just staying stuck, you're hardening. And a hardened heart eventually stops feeling the conviction that used to soften it. Jesus is not asking for perfection. He's asking for a heart that's still soft enough to be moved, still soft enough to break when it needs to break, so it can heal the way it needs to heal. A hard heart can survive plagues and still say no. Don't be that heart. Sin 4. Rejection of mercy. This is the deepest wound of all. Not the sin itself, the refusal of the cure. Jesus stands at the door of your heart with mercy in his outstretched hands, and some people look at that mercy and choose their pride instead. They'd rather carry the weight of their guilt than admit they need to be forgiven. They'd rather nurse their bitterness than let it be healed. They'd rather stay in control of their own punishment than surrender to a grace they didn't earn. That's not strength. That's the deepest form of pride there is. Pride so deep, it would rather suffer alone than be saved by someone else. Think about what you're actually rejecting when you reject his mercy. Not a rule, not a religious obligation. A person who bled out so that forgiveness could be offered freely, no strings attached, no performance required. And some hearts look at that gift and say, "No thank you. I'll handle this myself." That is the sin that grieves him most, because it's a rejection of the very thing his death was for. Maybe that's you right now. Maybe you're holding on to shame like it's a badge you have to wear. Maybe you've decided you're too far gone, too messed up, too repeat offender for grace to reach you. That thought is not humility. That thought is pride wearing a disguise. Because true humility says, "I don't deserve this, and I'll receive it anyway." False humility says, "I don't deserve this, so I'll refuse it and suffer instead." Jesus didn't die so you could earn your way back. He died so the way back would already be paved before you took your first step toward him. Refusing that mercy doesn't punish your sin. It just adds one more wound to the heart that already bled for you. So here you are, for sins, for wounds, and maybe more than one of them just described you with uncomfortable accuracy. Ingratitude that's gone cold, indifference that's gone quiet, a heart that's gone hard, mercy that's been pushed away. You don't need another sermon filed away and forgotten. You need to do something right now, while this is still fresh, while your conscience is still awake. Stop and actually feel what his love cost him. Let gratitude replace the coldness today, not someday. Bring him back into the center of your decisions. Let indifference die the moment you notice it, starting with this next hour of your day. Forgive the name that just flashed in your mind. Repent of the sin you keep repeating. Let your heart break so it can finally heal. And receive the mercy you've been too proud to accept. Stop punishing yourself for something he already paid for in full. This isn't about fear. It's about love, a love that's been waiting, patient and wounded, for you to turn around. Jesus isn't asking for a perfect heart. He's asking for a heart that's willing to turn back to him, right now, without another excuse. So turn back. Not tomorrow. Not after you clean yourself up first. Now. Because his heart has been wounded long enough. And it's still open for you.